Have you ever been in a middle conversation and somebody's face is like, eh? And you're like, what? What's wrong? And they're like, nothing. Why? What makes you think something's wrong? Well, maybe that face that you just made. And that would tell me that you're confused or something, right? So, what do we tell people without saying what we're thinking? Like how does our body language or what we're doing affect others? How do they perceive it? What are they going to think? And are you very mindful of that? I can tell you I talk a lot with my face. More often than not, I've been able to do a lot better recently, especially because I'm working with people, and I can't be like, what did you just say? Because I don't want them to feel any different. And so I'm pretty good at that. But recently I've noticed that I start watching people do that more. And it kind of goes back to what we were saying yesterday in a sense that, like if I'm talking and you're like wrinkling your face and, doing this, you think that something I'm saying is wrong, crazy, or whatever. And so therefore I'm going to probably shut down, right? Or I'm just going to go freaking crazy with it. There's one of two ways. But let's think about it. It's not just our face. It's not just our face. Body language is a miracle, a miracle, an amazing thing. Like we can learn so much just by the way that we are reading somebody's body. If you come into my office and your head is down and your arms are crossed, I know that you're probably not 100% comfortable being there. You're probably irritated or upset. And therefore, I'm going to ask questions like, what's going on? Is there something that we need to talk about? Is there something that you need to tell me? Do you need me just to listen to you? Whatever it may be. But then there's times that you come in and, you're smiling and you know, all your facial expressions great, but you're closed with your arms like, I'm like, oh goodness, okay. So they're telling me by facial expressions that they're okay, but they're still being a little regarded, right? It's easy to tell if somebody's mad normally by facial expression. But what do we do when we can't read that? You know, what do we do if we can't read that body language? What if we don't know what we're looking for? And why is it even important? Well, a lot of it's important because of this. When stuff is done on a nature of being online behind screens where there's just an audio clip or there's a short video clip or we're not seeing everything, then what happens is we're only catching glimpses. Okay. And therefore, the same with an email. If I'm emailing you, you're not going to know as well as if I'm talking to you. If I'm texting you, you're not going to know as well as if I'm talking to you. And oftentimes we will learn that those disconnects in conversations and communication come because we're not able to read the tone. We're not able to see what you're saying or hear the tone that you're saying it, or we're not able to see the full picture. We're only getting bits and pieces, and we make judgments on those bits and pieces, right? And therefore, it becomes very hard and challenging. And why is it important that we understand what your body language is saying or how your email is expressing what you're saying? And in other words, why is it important that that's even talked about? Well, let me tell you what I tell my clients all the time. What you're saying is something that's going to come out and it's going to be there forever, whether it's in a text, an email, verbally, whatever. It's once it's out, it doesn't come back, right? So, if you put something out there that's in a negative way and not even meaning to, for example, if you could say, I am not mad with exclamation, 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 then somebody could really read that as, oh, they're really mad. Just because you said you're not mad doesn't mean that you really aren't mad, right? So, the way that we can help people is by understanding them, by giving them the proper tools to understand what we're saying and to not feel confused or conflicted or whatever. And I have to deal with this a lot. Thankfully, I have a lot of clients that are very just open about how they feel and what they're thinking. But I do have those clients that make me, scratch my head and say, we're sending mixed signals there. Now, I say that because I work with people all the time. But guys, this is effective in everyday life. You, me, our best friends, the lawyer, the doctor, the homeless person, whoever it may be. Everybody has the ability to let their body language talk for them or their tone talk for them or, whatever it could be, that text, whichever it is. And if we're not aware of how that's coming off and perceived, then we're not aware that it could be causing some conflict or some concern or some worry. And it's important that we think about those things, kind of like I said yesterday. You have to think about how you would feel if that was done to you, you know? And if I said, "Hey, are you good?" in a text and you're like, "Yes, why?" Well, because, I asked because you're already being short. There's a reason I asked that question. And then that answer is going to tell me, based on, is there, yeah, I'm good. Why do you ask? Or, yeah, why? That tone is set through those messages. And it's so easy not to think about that stuff. And I think that it's something that we all need to be aware of. And I tell people all the time, like I have this one person I'm working with. They're like, we only communicate through text. I'm like, well, that's the problem. Stop. Stop. You're not going to do well with that. Why do you think I tell them that? Why do you think that I tell them that text is not good? Because of the situation, depending on what it is, they're going to read into that completely different than what the person has intended it to be. Or they feel not valued because they're not being understood, or because there's more questions that are asked, there's confusions. And it's important for me to tell people that, those one-on-one conversations that are important and that need to be discussed on a day-to-day manner should really be done through face-to-face. That's why telehealth, they have us offer, the Zoom or what other platform we have to allow that to be done if the person doesn't want to do by a phone. If they say, well, I need to see you, the reason is because they can see us, we can see them, they see that we still have that connection, because it leaves less room for misunderstanding and less room for feeling uncomfortable. So that's why we all need to think about it. I know that it is very easy to overlook. I know that we don't put much emphasis on that in society because everything is through a reply, through a text or an email. But let me tell you that what you say and how you say it can be very damaging if it's not interpreted right. Okay. Um, I had to walk somebody off this little breakup convention today because what they had asked was a very simple, "Hey, what are your plans for today?" And the response was, "Why do you always ask me that? What's going on? What don't you think I would tell you if it was something different than what it normally is?" And so the person that sent the text originally asking is offended, like they're hurt, like, I'm sorry. Well, then we're talking and I'm like, "So how did you ask?" And they advised me, "Well, I asked, what are you doing today? Question mark, question mark, question mark." And I said, "Well, that kind of, to me, if I was to get that text, I would probably be like, dang, I don't know. What did you need me to do? It would put a little bit more emphasis on that text." And I'm like, so really what we need to do is we need to hype down some. We need to come down from this, "Oh, we're done," to, "Hey, let's have an actual face-to-face conversation." And maybe we need to apologize for how we're responding or what we're doing, because maybe it's not, maybe the person just really didn't understand what the question was for, Maybe there wasn't a good understanding. Okay. And I'm like, we can't just be like breaking up because of a text. Like, we can't do that, people. We can't. We can't. And they were like, "Well, we could." And I'm like, no, no, you're going to regret it later because of a text. So, gave them some tools to you be able to use to be able to go home and try to, use proper communication and see where it could take them. Okay. Now, imagine if that wasn't me talking to them and somebody else, such as a friend or something, took their side and was like, oh, yeah, that's wrong. Why? Imagine that. That whole relationship could have been done in a matter of 3 seconds over one text. Why? Because people didn't think about other people not being able to judge that communication in the beginning. That text message was not enough to allow them to understand. So, that being said, we have to really keep that into mind. Um, and sorry about that. That was my oven. It's not burning though, trust me. And we have to keep that in mind because we are all human. And sometimes we say something a little bit different, or we act a little bit different, or we text a little bit different, or we email something and it's not, how we intended. We all do that from time to time, possibly. And it's important that we just have better etiquette with that. It's important that we make that more of a priority. It's important that if you are having that face to face, and that's what I told this person that I'm working with. I'm like, now this means when you go home, you can't be going and shaking your head and making all these gestures with your hands, because they already know that this affects the other person. It makes them shut down. And so I'm like, how that affects them, so you really need to be aware and mindful of that too. Her body language could have set the tone with this as well. And with that being said, I needed them to be very mindful, so I'm hoping that that goes well. Honestly, I think we all need to work on that and just think about it. As I sit here talking, think about what I'm saying, how important it is that our tone, our body language, everything matches how we're truly feeling, what we're saying, and that way we don't have any confusion. Okay. And I know this is kind of out of the blue, but it kind of does fall in with yesterday. Okay. Because I said, let's not talk about people in ways that could affect them, or, because we don't know how they're going to handle it. It's the same thing. Let's not talk at somebody. Let's talk to somebody, and let's put how we're truly feeling into place. Okay. If you're not mad, don't put question, 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 question. No need. No need. Don't do it. Just don't. And if you're happy, don't be like, I'm good, sad face. Why? Why? Why do that? If you're not feeling a certain way, don't present it that way. If you don't feel that you're crazy, don't present it that way. If you don't want somebody to say, are you mad? Don't present it that way. If there's any questioning it, know that it could cause issues. So there's that. But for now, I'm going to get off of here. Obviously, I need to attend to my cooking. And I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll be back. Bye, guys.